children's rights organisation Save the Children SA says it's concerned about the well-being and safety of the children in KwaZulu-Natal. This after the devastating floods which wreaked havoc in the province. Over 50 children died in the disaster. Talking to me now from Pretoria is the organisation's Programs Director, Gugu Xaba. Gugu, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm sure that you and your team are in contact with people on the ground in KZN since these devastating floods hit. What for you has hit you about the devastation that's facing specifically the children affected by these floods as we speak?
Thank you very much to eNCA for the question. Yes, we've got teams that are on the ground on a day-to-day basis. Currently, the biggest problem that we are facing as Save the Children is that we've got shelters in terms of the community halls that government has made available. There are no divisions in the community health centers, which means we've got women, children, and men staying in the same hall. And this exposes children to more lack of child protection. And that is the biggest concern we have, and we've seen it on the ground. And besides that, we also have people that do not have anything, starting from clothes, school uniform, blankets, IDs, which means there are families that have been left with nothing. So what we have worked with now is early childhood development centers that are still taking in some of the children. But the biggest challenge again is that the ECDs that are standing are actually, some of them are half the building that used to be. So it means already we are again exposing children to, in case the building can collapse or there's just an unhealthy environment because there's no water, there's no electricity. So they're making do with the best that they have. So that is why Save the Children is supplying water, is supplying food, is supplying we are looking for clothes right now. We are also looking for blankets because they need them. And the other thing that I think is also going to be a problem is an ability of infectious diseases beginning because of the environment that the people are staying in and the lack of safe water supply. And so it means there's a need for us as non-governmental organizations and government to ensure that municipalities can be supported to fast-track the fixing of the water supply, because I think that's the biggest one. Though electricity and connectivity is a problem, but if we can start with the water, it would be better. And also, if we can start protecting the children that are in these centers, because that's another hazard waiting to burst. So those are some of the things that we're looking at to Save the Children. I know that
if I could just come in there for a second, you speak about the immediate needs that the children have, practical needs of clean water, electricity, blankets, clothes, food. Those are the immediate needs. But the environment that you speak of also speaks to a trauma that these children are living through right now, on top of the trauma of experiencing those floods in the very first place. How easy or difficult will it be to even start looking at the trauma these children have been through and the kind of treatment and counselling that they potentially need right now already?
It's going to be difficult. I think the best thing we can start with now is to ensure that they are adults that are responsible and taking care of the children, which means ensuring that they are warm, ensuring that they've got the food and the water, and ensuring that they cannot be further exposed to any form of abuse, which is likely to happen in such an environment. If we can start there, then the children can be given, they have an opportunity to talk to the adult that is next to them and express how they feel, which will be part of beginning the healing. It will be the earliest stages. And then from there, if possible, I know that we have a challenge with psychotherapy or psychosocial services in our government units. But it would be important for us to, at least for each of these community halls, if we can provide a psychologist and a social worker, just to explore what the emotional state of both the child and the parent, those that are available. The children that are actually destitute are even worse. We could even prioritize them. That would be the beginning, because the therapy that they need is far longer than what we are going to give in the coming 4 to 8 weeks.
Now, the information we're getting from the Basic Education Department is pretty devastating in terms of the schools. At the last count, 630 schools were affected, but 101 were inaccessible and 124 schools suffered extensive damage. Now, in South Africa, often schools are a very rare safe space for our children and also a place where they get nutrition. That being potentially taken away from children in KZN, specifically in our rural areas where already it's difficult for them to get the important services. The state of our schools in that area is going to be another a challenge, isn't it?
Yes, it's actually going to be a contributor to the problem and making it worse. That is why I think some of the early childhood development centers decided to open, because they become a site where non-governmental organization can bring some of the food and the water, and then the children that are there can be provided with that kind of a safe environment. Yes, I agree. For instance, today I learned that one of the special early childhood development centers that we support is inaccessible. So we haven't even been able to assess the damage there or to provide for those people that are there. So schools being damaged and being inaccessible is a big problem that is causing our ability to help to move even at a slower pace than we would like.
What are you hearing from your teams on the ground in terms of the numbers affected? Now, officially included in that death toll, we have 50 children who it is said, is confirmed, had lost their lives. Gift of the Givers today spoke of the fact that they think that those numbers are undercounted and that we probably have far more people missing than is on official record. That must also mean that there are a pretty high number of children that have probably been orphaned by these floods as well. We probably haven't even begun to assess the damage that has been done physically and mentally to our children in that province.
Exactly. We haven't. The fact that we are told that there are areas that are inaccessible tells us that if that is 30% of the problem or more, then we do not know about 30% of the people that are lost or that have passed on. So I would agree with the fact that the numbers are not yet where they are really. For instance, the fact that by 2 days ago, we found a woman and a child who had lost their house and everything. They were not yet at a shelter. And they had not been counted yet. So that indicates that there's still more that we're still going to learn about. And the areas that we are not accessing, clearly, we do not know the losses that have happened there.
Very quickly, Gugu, we have run out of time, but I want to give you the opportunity to tell people, if they're sitting at home watching this right now and they feel that they can help or give you assistance in some way, where do they go for more information?
Yes. They can be able to go. Our offices are in Pretoria, and we also have an office in Durban. In Durban, we have a person called Vasha. I do not have her number right now. I can be able to send it, but let me be the first contact, which means Gugu Xaba. The number is 083-294-0803. And Save the Children's website does indicate the address of our office, where some of the clothes that we've received have been dropped there, and we will be taking them to Durban. And any other need, our website is available to for people to contact us.
Fantastic. I think the website is probably the best place for people to get information. Thank you so much for your time, Gugu Xaba from Save the Children SA. Thank you to her and her team for the very, very important work that they're doing as our children are in crisis as a result of those floods in KZN.